Hi everybody, I'm Zilla Blitz and welcome to episode 3 in our adventures with Sword and Siege Age of Longbow Volume 1 from Wargame Design Studio. We're fighting the 100 Years' War hypothetical scenario Pont-Hébert, where we're trying to get a large English force across a river in the face of heavy French opposition. In our previous 2 episodes, we've managed to get a toehold on the other side of the river, get a few of our forces across the bridge. Now as we come to the back half of the battle, can we get the rest of our forces across and drive on to our objectives? Let's jump right in and find out. So here's a look at our current situation about halfway through this 4-hour battle. To recap what's gone on so far, we have managed to push across a small number of English forces. We're the English forces in red, the French are in blue, and our goal again as the English forces is to get our forces across the river, capture this strong point here, this objective hex, and then if we go down to the south, when I'm clicking and flashing with the yellow hex as well, our second objective. A third objective sits way down here to the south. That might be a little bit unrealistic as we don't know what types and how many forces might be in between these objectives, as we can't really see with fog of war what else is ahead of us. But our immediate goal for the next hour or so is to get this massive English forces on the west side of the river across the bridge here, which is flashing yellow, and push them forward into the French forces. Now, one strategy that has worked well for us so far is, you'll notice clicking and showing with flashing yellow here, we've got a bunch of English archers that we brought up onto the west bank, and we rained fire on French units on the east side of the river. As a result of that, these units have withered. If we look now at the French units that I'm clicking on and showing with the yellow hexes, we can see their markers on the left here says routed, and they have a big R on them. So we have really rained down enough bows on these French forces that they have quit the field. They're done with this. So they're probably falling back to regroup. Hopefully we can keep up the pressure on them and not let them rally and get back into action here. But that strategy worked really well. As far as what we've got on the east bank, if I click, this is our main force that's taken the brunt of the assault so far. And looking at, we've got about 400 spearmen and then another 500 or so men-at-arms. However, these spearmen here that I've highlighted and got the cursor waving over in this stack here, they've lost over 100 of their 500 men, and their fatigue level is 299. So after almost 2 hours of incessant fighting, they're pretty much done for the day. They're exhausted. So we are going to probably have to retire them, get fresh forces across, and push forward. And indeed, that's the goal for the next 15 minutes or so. Now, I want to try to finish this replay in this episode. So I'm going to, as we've seen a lot of how movement works and so how some of the kind of the pesky archery fire works, I'm going to move forward with that and show the end of my move now. So I'm going to jump off screen, try to move off camera and try to get some of these forces across, and we'll take a look at what it looks like afterwards. In terms of where we are victory-wise, however, if we click up and open up the victory conditions, we can see down here at the very bottom of the window, it is a draw with 131 points. Now, negative score is good for us. We want to get this down. Minus 100 would be a major defeat for the French and a major victory for us. So we have work to do to get to major victory or even a minor victory. However, this first objective is still listed under French control, and I'm hopeful that we can take that in the next 15 minutes, which I think pushes us to a minor victory, but we have greater hopes than that at this moment. So I'll get moving, and then we'll see what it looks like after I've finished moving the forces. This 15 minutes here was largely a repositioning of our forces. We did get these troops. By the way, the shields here that we can see that I'm highlighting now in the middle, they are a leader. This is Warwick, and he has 500 men now underneath him, spearmen. We've got them across the bridge in column form, and they're ready to move up. But it took a while to do that, to get across the bridge, so we aren't quite at the point where we're at this first objective yet. Other than that, we really didn't have any opportunities for fire. These skirmishes on the other side of the river here that have fought valiantly for the first half of the battle here are out of ammo. They're low ammo. They're disordered, so we're just having them rest and wait until we get more supplies across to them. We did move our dragoons here around through the woods, and hopefully that'll bring some pressure on these routed units here, but for the most part they were only able to move at this point. And we've backed off our fatigued spearmen up into the woods to hopefully give them a chance to rest. Otherwise, we basically just changed the formation and unlimbered some of the limbered up some of the artillery here to get them ready to move across the bridge, and moved forces onto the bridge here in terms of the longbows. But we need to get them in column form to get across the bridge, so it's largely repositioning forces on the west side of the bank. However, over here on the east side, we do have one exciting thing. We've got the Black Prince and his 500 men-at-arms who are going to go here, the advantage attacker. I'd love to be able to take this French position again here because they have these artillery pieces that we could perhaps steal back. They've changed hands twice already. So we are going to execute this melee now. Oh, lovely. Attacker 70, defender, attacker 7 losses, defender 30 lost, which is excellent. That pushed them back here, and they're disordered and driven back, and we've extracted some heavy casualties here, retaken this position, and captured the French ballistae. Most excellent. So with that in mind, that ends this turn for us. Let's go to the next turn and see what the French do. Okay, we have some more French movement here. It looks like they're trying to set up a defensive line here to the east of this first position. Some of the routed troops looks like they're coming back. They're coming back into action. A lot of mysterious things going on here, but they're definitely setting up a line of resistance here in front of this second objective that we've got flashing down here. They do not have any melee, and I wonder, we've got 2 units disordered out of 4 units checked, so it looks like some of our disordered units are reorganizing themselves, and we've got 1 unit resupplied. Excellent. 1 battery set up out of 1 unit checked. That's good. Let's see how these are. Yes, good. Our archers back on the east side of the bank have gotten fresh arrows, so we can bring them forward. And how are these units here? Good. Our men-at-arms now down here, which were disordered after moving through the woods and through the town here on the west side of the bank, they are now back and all ordered, and we've got captured ballistae, so it's time to move to our next actions. So I think for this next 15 minutes of the battle, our goal is roughly the same. Continue pouring forces across the river, and I want to slam into these routed troops here, see if we can drive them back. And by moving more forces closer to the French units here, I'm curious to see what type of resistance we might have over here that I don't think we can see yet. So we want to try to move these forces up, get a better picture of what lies in front of us, and then try to hit and attack wherever we can. But first, we want to do more damage on these French, it looks like spearmen that have been routed in the previous turn, and start to bring these captured ballistae to bear as well on the French forces. So I'm going to do that off camera, and we'll take a look what it looks like after I get all that movement done. So we continue to pour forces across the bridge. It's a slow process, and I actually accidentally screwed up here. I moved these spearmen across. They had them in line formation in the previous 50 minutes, and I accidentally gave them the order to move back in column formation, and my undo command doesn't seem to be working for some reason. So that was a tactical error. We could have gotten them up here to recrew this ballistae, and there must be a way to I would think, when we get troops here, to divert or break off a few troops to crew this ballistae, because once we moved these mounted men of arms away from the ballistae, they became uncrewed, so they're just kind of sitting there. But anyway, we'll solve that problem going forward. We did push forward over here to the other side with these dragoons. There are, as we expected, more French forces here to the east. We've got some skirmishers that are disordered from previous engagements over here on the other side of the river, and then some fresh unknown, looks like spearmen or some sort of ground troops here, about 100 men here. We did put some archer fire on them and disordered them and caused a few casualties here. Meanwhile, I'm trying to bring up these fatigued, extremely exhausted spearmen here, perhaps to hold our left flank, as this looks like it could be a bit of a threat here with these fresh troops moving up. But we do have one melee attack down here. We rained some more fire on these routed spearmen, and we want to put the herd on here. So we're going to send the Black Prince here on a melee attack forward here. Can only initiate... Oh, we have to go to the next phase. Sorry, let's go to the next phase. There we go. We're going to select these, and let's see if we can route the rest of these troops here. Let's execute this melee. 1 attacker, 83 defender. Completely eliminated them. That was excellent. Oh, that was these. The Black Prince here is just is pretty nasty. So very few casualties. We are starting to get tired, however. But that was a good attack for us. We did end up disordered as we pull closer to the French lines here. And that should, let's take a look at the score, because we have captured this victory point hex now. So if we look at the score, we are a total point of 0. So side A, the French are at a minor defeat. We're at a minor victory. We need 100 more points to go to get to the major victory, which we could get either by casualties inflicted, perhaps, or by taking this next victory point location down here. I think this will be our goal, to try to get to this second one before the end of the scenario here. We've got a little bit less than 2 hours to accomplish that. So let's go to the French turn. That's really all we have to do here. Let's see what the French do in response. So these troops that were routed are now reorganized, regaining strength, figuring out what to do. They do have some supplies here. They look like they have been largely unsuccessful in setting up a defense, but I think to a certain degree the fog of war here is preventing us from seeing what's going on. 0 units disordered. Our whole force is back in these units. I think they did not succeed. So these units here are still disordered. Oh, these are French units, but our troops, they're still disordered. They're okay. Our knights, our men-at-arms are disordered. Okay, so we have work to do now. Our rough goal for this next 15 minutes, the same thing. We want to get more forces across the river here. I'd like to form some sort of a line here, but the French forces do appear to be somewhat in disarray. It looks like these routed forces are continuing to fall back, and while some of the troops, I mean, it's hard to get a good picture with the fog of war what's going on, as we would expect. It looks like some French troops have decided to try to hold, where others may be, because we can see back here by this unit, still routing and fleeing backwards. So it does look like they are in somewhat of a disarrayed formation, which makes me think that we want to, as much as we can, press forward. So I think that's going to be the goal, is to, rather than wait for the perfect attack, we're going to use Patton's advice, which is a good plan executed violently today is better than a perfect plan executed at some indefinite point in the future. Let's keep up the attack here and see if we can keep slamming into these rather disorganized French defenses. So I'm going to move forward. We'll get our troops going up here, and then we'll see what it looks like for us to attack at the end of this next 15-minute segment. So a good 15 minutes of action. We've got a lot of progress getting our units across the bridge in force now without facing any harassing fire. We do have some French forces that are set up here, but we've got our Black Prince and our Knights ready to engage them here. We've also got these mounted men-of-arms, almost 500 men. They moved up across the bridge. They're ready to go on horseback. They're fast, and I think we can slam them right into these archers here, which hopefully we should be able to take out. They did suffer some casualties from the French in moving up here, but doing pretty well, and more of our forces getting across in force, getting back into line formation so that we can continue to slam into this French formation. So I'm cautiously optimistic. That last turn was pretty good. Let's move ahead in our time, and then we'll execute our melee attacks on these French units here. So let's go to melee. We're going to continue here. Select both of these units here. Let's melee, advantage, attacker, defender, auto. Oh, it must be. That's interesting. It says advantage, attacker, defender, auto win. I'm not sure if that, but we'll try it here. Let's see what happens. Let's execute this melee. I think it. Did we win? 10 attacker, 10 defender. Oh, that was not good. We suffered casualties there. They held. Perhaps the spearmen against the mounted horses here was not a good idea. Oh, that put our melee up, our fatigue up very high too. Okay, so that didn't work. We're going to need to think about this thorn in the way here. However, let's take this melee attack, which I think should be better. Advantage attacker, because we're going against archers. Let's execute this one. Resolve melee. 14 attacker, 51 defender. That put a hurt on here. I do think this charging spearman, which looks like these next French units are highlighted here with the yellow hex, looks like that won't be a good idea. That's what I think really put a heavy toll on us here. I mean, not that bad. We did take out 10 men. Our quality is A, so we're doing okay, but they're starting to fatigue, and we need to break this French unit to continue pushing forward to this objective. So work to be done, but we're getting across the river in force here. Let's go to the next turn, see what the French do in response. They're rearranging troops. Again, it's hard for us to see fully what's going on because we have fog of war, so we can't quite see what units are here, what units have routed, what units are in good shape. We're taking some archery fire here. These brave spearmen, no effect. Excellent. Let's see if they melee anywhere. They do not. So hopefully our troops here are getting back into order. Nope, still disordered. They're okay. Yes, our knights are back into good order. In order, I think a big opportunity for us in this next 15 minutes here. This French unit, these spearmen here, we want to take them out. And I think if we can get these spearmen up in position here to attack, that should help solve and shift the odds in our favor. Running the mounted men-at-arms against the spears didn't seem to work very well. We'll also try to bring as much archery fire to bear on the French units as we can and continue to pour our forces across the river. However, all of these casualties on those archers, looks like we wiped out, this is that routed archery unit. Let's see how the victory tally goes, as enemy losses do help us here. 50 points. I guess that mounted cavalry loss really hurt us here. So right now it's 50 points, side A, minor defeat. So we went the wrong way. We were at 0 before. Bummer. Okay. So we need to keep pouring forward here. This is by far from over, as we can't afford to lose more casualties if we want to rack up a win here. We need to keep going. Okay, I'll get moving and then we'll see what it looks like after we move. We've gotten the majority of our forces up now into the front lines here, as the process to move across the bridge has gone very, very well. We are still struggling to get some of these troops that we've gotten across into line formation, so we're still scrambling to get organized as an attacking force. However, we do have our spearmen up here with the Warwick, our leader, ready to attack these spearmen. I'm going to hold off down here where I'm clicking. We've got mounted men-of-arms down here to the south of our line against these spearmen. That didn't work, and they're in block formation, so I want to wait until we can get a little bit more archery fire here to wither these defenders. I feel like this attack will go poorly, and then we're going to give our Black Prince here a chance to rest for a little bit, so that we can bring these spearmen to attack. We have bring these spearmen to attack the French spearmen down here. We have put some archery fire on them, but most of it's been indirect or ineffective. So I feel like they are in a block formation as well, trying to hold out as best they can. But let's be hopeful here that we can get some good results. I'd love to crack the middle of the French line here to drive back towards this second objective. Let's end our movement phase here and see what the... so we're going to go here now and attack. So let's see what the French do. We are going to launch our melee attacker. Advantage attacker. Excellent. That's good. Let's execute this attack. Resolve melee. 12 attacker, 44 defender. Excellent. That worked out very well. We've pushed them back. They are down now. They were up over 100 and something men before, but heavy casualties on the French here, and we've pushed them back. Hopefully they're going to give up ground and maybe rout in the next movement here. That might help our victory status here too. A little bit. Down to 39 points. Still, we are a good way. I mean, we've got a minor victory right now, but we are a good ways away from a major victory. And the French seem to have a fair number of forces here left. So, still wood to chop for us here. Let's go now to the French response. That unit left. Yeah, they routed. Excellent. So, we've opened up a pathway here to the second objective. Now we got to press our advantage here. They are trying to wither us with some archery fire. They've moved up some new skirmishers here in front of our troops. That should be pretty much a speed bump, I think. As skirmish... Oh, gosh. So they are having some fire here on us, but really not doing much in terms of effective attacks. I did mean to attack up here in the last turn. We have our tired spearmen here. They're up to fatigue 268. They're getting a little bit energy restored here, as we haven't really done much with them over the last half hour. So the energy up here for these spearmen, the ones that led our advance across the river, has peaked. And I wanted to attack these skirmishers in melee. I forgot to in the last 15 minutes there. But let's go forward. We're going to move forward, set up, try to wither these defenders with more archery fire and push through the center of the French line here. We've routed these spearmen. We've got a pathway here to this second victory objective, which I think if we could get this would give us a major victory. So I'll get moving and we'll see what it looks like as our forces reorganize in this next 15 minutes or so. Last 15 minutes went very well. We've got lines of archers now, all in formation, riddling the French forces. We killed at least 50 men in the last 15 minutes with bows. And we are set up for what I think will be some promising melee, in addition to getting all but the very last of our supply wagons across the river. They are on the bridge now. So the entire English force is across, and we appear to be pushing through the center of the French defenses here. Let's start with some melee. We've got our these spearmen, yeah, still 268. Let's see, even as tired as they are, let's see if they can go forward here. We have to move to the melee stage. This way, skirmishers will evade melee. That's fine. We'll lose a man or two, but let's execute melee. Good. We pushed them back. They avoided it, and that's not a problem. Here we have archers. There's nothing else we can do. But yeah, they're surrounded here, so I'm not too worried about skirmishers in behind us at the moment. Let's come down here now. We put a fair good amount of bows into this block spearman formation. Although these are mounted troops, let's see if we can have some luck here. Advantage attacker, defendo auto win. Ooh, I don't think we want to do that then. Well, let's try it. I feel like that was... Oh, look at that. 14 attackers, 58 defenders. So despite the fact that we didn't gain ground, we did put on a lot of casualties on this unit. Hopefully this unit will rout now. Let's come over here to the center, where we've got our spearmen going up against these French archers. Skirmishers will evade melee. That's fine. We'll lose a man there. Let's conduct it and push them back. Excellent. And then our Black Prince with our 460 grade A men-at-arms against these routed spearmen that have been pushed back. Advantage attacker. Let's do this one. This one could be a good one for us. 4 attackers, 82 defenders. Oh my goodness. The French forces suffering some casualties here, as that was a very effective turn for us. Let's see how we're doing now. We're at -2, so still a minus defeat. We need 98 more points to go to get to a major defeat. With that, those are all of our melee attacks here. Let's go on to the French turn and see what they do. So those spearmen routed, troops falling back here in disarray. The French forces appear to be shattering, although we can't quite see everything. Supply wagons, they do have some fresh defenders here firing at our Black Prince's archers here. So we go to the last hour of the battle here. We have English forces right now, the Black Prince and his mounted men-at-arms. We click right to the south. They're about, 50 meters away from, 100 meters away from the second strong point here. So we could be on the doorstep of securing our second objective, which would be good. But they do have some spearmen. They're in a line formation right now. Okay. And then they have some skirmishers. But we have a good hour to take this position, and it does look like, again, the French formation here has been shattered. We do have these routed skirmishers that ran the wrong way, so we'll see if we can make them pay here. They are close to our supply wagons up here, though, that just caught across the bridge, so we might want to be a little bit careful about what happens with them. But let's go ahead. I'm going to push forward and continue to take shots with our archers and our longbows, which are very effective here for the English. So I'll move forward, and we'll be back as soon as I've finished our movement here. For the last 15 minutes, it's been mostly a lather, rinse, repeat, as we've been able to push our forces forward pretty quickly and continuing to lace the French forces with bows as they try to retreat and reorganize. But we've got them on their heels now. We've got at the top of the screen here, where I'm clicking on with the flashing yellow hex, we've got their skirmishers largely surrounded by archers and ground troops. We're going to try to melee them again. We've moved everything's across the river now. We've got our supply wagons and our artillery moving down the road. It does look like we can't do anything with captured enemy artillery. I'm trying to figure out if there's we could destroy it or crew it, but it doesn't appear to be possible to do that. At least I'm not sure how to do that yet. And then we are pushing forward down here around the south of the French forces here, with our forces basically bumping up against as many French forces as we can with our archers in support and just riddling them with arrows. Let's now conduct our melee here. So we'll start up here at the top of the screen with our very tired Welsh spearmen here. We're going to try to let's move ahead to the melee stage first. Let's pick our spearmen, see if we can advantage attacker. Now they are surrounded. I don't think they have a way to retreat, which they would do apparently as skirmishers. 1 attacker, 4 defenders. They're still routed and they're retreating, so that's good. I mean, hopefully they'll run away now. Now, let's go down to our next force here, which is our Black Prince. And actually, let's do the one to the south here first, which has some spearmen going up against some skirmishers. I imagine skirmishers will evade. Yeah, we'll do that anyway. Okay, so they ran back. Ooh, what do we got here? More routed troops. French forces appear to be struggling here now. Let's come down to the very south here where we've got down around the flashing yellow hex now too. We've got more men-at-arms against these routed spearmen. Advantage attacker. This could be a good attack for us because they are on the run. Resolve melee. 1 attacker, 27 defender. Yeah, heavy casualties for the French. But in the middle here, we still have a big one. Whoops. Right here, we've got our Black Prince, our men-at-arms against some French forces that have yet to rout. Still, it's advantage attacker. And we have put a lot of bows into these forces here. Let's resolve melee. 2 attackers, 22 defenders, pushing them back, and we've now taken this objective. Excellent. So if we look at the victory score, how are we doing? Minus 68. Okay, but let's see if we have that registered yet that we've taken this spot. Looking now at the objectives, it says 50, so it hasn't registered yet that we've gotten that. If we get that, it should, once that registers, it looks like it should register to being a major victory for us, a major defeat for the French. That's the end of our melee orders here. Let's go now to the next turn and see how the French respond. Looks like everybody's running away. They've got a line of skirmishers, but that's not ideally what you want to make a line of forces with. Those skirmishers to the north ran away. Routed troops mostly in front of us, and a wall of light skirmishers. They're retreating with their supply wagons. This appears to be a major English victory here at Pont-Hébert as we go to about 45 minutes left in the battlefield. In the battle, I'm going to continue pushing forward here, and we'll see what it looks like as we get a little bit closer to the end here now. So we're doing pretty well so far. Let's keep it up. We're in the middle of our move here, but just calling attention down to the southeast. If I click on the final final objective for us, we have what I've got highlighted here with the yellow hex. It says 50-something men, but it looks like a picture of a woman holding food. So this must be some sort of civilian or peasant force, or just civilians perhaps that are in this last victory location here. So it doesn't look like the French have much of a defense left if they're calling on women and children to defend this final victory point hex. Let's see if we can push on and get this last victory hex here too. We'll continue moving though. The battle spreads out a little bit more north to south as the French forces up here in the north part of the battlefield have fled. We followed with some archers here and wiped those skirmishers out to the last man. So there is an unknown French unit over here, which is a question mark. Want to be careful of that just to make sure it doesn't slide in behind our lines here. But the north half of the battlefield looking in pretty good shape. Likewise, in the center, we have the routed French forces moving down the road as fast as they can to their final victory point location here. We do have some unknown, it looks like maybe an unknown leader or unit that's sitting off here right in front of their last victory hex here, trying to make a last stand. But most of the French forces on the road, their ground troops here, routed in disarray. We have riddled them again with bows as they have been fleeing here. And then a little bit more stubbornly to the south, we have some skirmishers here from the French, some archers mostly that are falling back as quickly as they can. This unit is disordered. We're trying to keep the pressure up on them and move forward as fast as we can. We do have a few melee attacks to conduct. Let's start down here in the south with our men-at-arms against these archers here. Let's move forward to the melee phase, select our ground troops, and then go forward. No prediction. Interesting. Maybe just because we're so tired. Oh, we lost 12 men to those archers. That's not good at all. Resolve melee. 15 attacker, 9 defenders. Huh. So somewhat resolutely, these French archers have really put a hurt on our men-at-arms. And those men-at-arms are worth quite a few victory points. Let's see how that changes the score here. Minus 33. Okay, it looks like we're going to need this last victory point location to get a major victory. But we have more ground troops to work with here. Let's send our spearmen against these skirmishers. I imagine they will retreat. Yeah, they will evade. We'll do that anyway. No effect. We didn't lose any men. Pushed forward, and they moved back. Only about 50 men left there, though. But our Black Prince and his men-at-arms, who are starting to fatigue here. Their fatigue's way up at 208. Still, we can push forward into these routed troops. Hopefully this will be a good result for us. Resolve melee. No attackers, 32 defenders, all of them killed. I mean, basically the French forces at this point are retreating as fast as they can, and we are just slaughtering them as they're running away from us. It is a massacre. That should help our victory point total a little bit here too. Minus 35. Apparently only a couple points for 40 or so ground French troops. That's all of our melee for the moment here. We do have this little thorn here in the south that really put a hurt on our men-at-arms. Was not expecting that, but we're hopeful that maybe in the last half hour we can grab this last victory point location, which would certainly give us, I think, a decisive victory in this one. Let's move on to the French turn and see what they do. Turn 14 out of 15. They are reorganizing themselves here for a last stand. Has the Black Prince got it in them? Looks like they're trying to make some sort of a move around our right flank. They've got some forces there. At the same time, they are falling back, too. Your supply wagons are somewhat exposed. They're not daring any melee here. Okay, we'll move forward again in this turn. We're going to see if we can push forward and get a last attack on the victory point location. We've got a half an hour to take it. I'll get moving. Just a quick side note, we've captured Bertrand, one of the French leaders here, as he was trying to escape the battlefield, so that's a good step forward for us as well. In the waning hours of this battlefield, we've kept the pressure up on the largely evaporated French north flank, chasing down these routed spearmen as they run away with our archers. We riddled them again, taking out another dozen or so men, and then just keeping up a light cordon of troops here to the north, so that should something pop out of some of these hills here. This is bumpy terrain, by the way. You can see the crenellations here, the edges on the hexes indicating some terrain falling off and rising. So there's some places where we can't see that far ahead of us. So I just want to kind of keep a light line of troops here to prevent the French from breaking through with something from the unknown and going into our supply wagons, which would be catastrophic. Then we've kept our pressure up. We've got our Black Prince, who is largely exhausted, fatigue of 200. On the last French objective here, we've got some disordered spearmen, and it looks like some peasants or something trying to defend this last stronghold. We've got 15 minutes, 30 minutes left to take this. Kept up the pressure on these skirmishes here, and for the most part, I've just used archers here on this southern French flank, which actually looks still pretty strong with a number of troops. And these mounted men of arms that I've got flashing with the left hex here, with the yellow hex here, they're at fatigue 328. I'm just letting them rest because I think they are, for the most part, spent, and we've lost over 100 men there too. So they've fought valiantly today. Let's give them, rather than push what I don't think will be a helpful advantage in the south here. We don't really have an advantage, I think, in the south. We'll just let them hold, and hopefully the French forces will just sit around and we can just stare at each other for the last half an hour here. But we do have a few ground attacks here. We've got some spearmen, and Warwick are going to try to attack these skirmishers. Let's go now to the melee phase. So we'll get these troops going here. I imagine the skirmishers will evade, cannot attack when we're facing the wrong way. Can we still turn? We cannot, because we stopped movement. Okay, so that was a tactical mistake on our part. The skirmishers will stand to fight another day. However, our Black Prince will try to take this last victory hex here. Advantage attacker. See if we can get in. There are some French archers there. They've taken out 2 more of the Black Prince's men. We resolve melee. No attackers, 19 defenders, and we have gut troops on the last victory hex here, largely turning the French force to the south, it looks like, as there's not much left to the north of us. So this could get us that decisive victory here, which would be a rather unusual decisive victory for me in this game. I don't think I have many of these to call yet. And that's our melee phase for right now. Let's go on now to see what the French do. They are falling back in force, calling it a day here. Not much activity coming towards us from the French. Retreat seems to be, to fight another day for them, better option here. So with that in mind, I think what we're going to do is we'll make our last moves, perhaps shoot some bows at these retreating French forces, and then just make a little bit of a defensive position here so that they won't be able to get any ideas about retaking this last victory hex here. But looking pretty good. We'll make our last moves. And in our last turn here, we have pushed forward, basically trying to make a spread out wall here just to prevent any infiltrators from the French that would have any ideas about sneaking in behind us and grabbing some of these victory point hexes through some kind of a counterattack. We've largely tried to fire as many bows into these retreating French forces in the south as we can, but it does look like the enemy force has largely fled the battlefield in what looks to be a rather decisive victory for us here. Let's move forward to the melee phase, but we do not have any melee here. I think what will probably happen now is we go to the victory screen. Let's see what we get here. Time limit of scenario reached. Victory 131, a side A major defeat for the French, which is a major victory for us. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'd be happy to hear your comments down below. This was a fun one to play. I think this might be maybe the second time only that I've gotten a major victory, so I was pretty happy about that. I think our strategy of firing bows across the river worked very well. We set up our archers well, and logistically this felt like a challenge that I felt like we did pretty well at, despite some minor mistakes here and there. With disordering troops by not having them in the right formation and facing problems. Just a lot of little logistics that hopefully our forces will get sharper at as we play more. Love to hear your comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, you may also enjoyed our playthrough with another Wargame Design Studio Sword and Siege scenario that I'll put a link to right here if you want to watch that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.